They did not understand the levels of the document because we were actually at quite high level. They did not understand the scope of the different documents, despite us having CAVE and peer review. More worryingly, they didn't understand or didn't want to understand the calculation base. The calculations are quite simple, and you take a simple base, but they didn't want to know, they didn't want to get engaged. And although we tried to put lots of illustrative explanations how you do simple calculations, they still balked at the work. We did 3 more site surveys towards the end of 2008 because sites that were in the EP document we felt should be reflected in our survey, because we tend to all look for case studies when we're looking around at stuff. So by November 2008, Bob orchestrated a tricks workshop about the subject, and I think some of you, in fact looking around, I know some of you were there. A very interesting workshop, and I think it brought forward more, but it didn't bring forward stuff enough. By November 2008, we'd got all these documents, we'd hit the iceberg. I was upset because we'd done an awful lot of work but we weren't going forward. The fundamental point was still that district DC officers wanted a simple table they could run their finger down and say, that's the figure. That is not what paragraph 51 is all about. It's not what we're about in design terms. Last year, CAVE, in their document about placemaking, had quite clearly made the message about residential parking being an important part of the process. So we've got lots of issues about the functionality of highway networks, the ruination of good urban design by under-provision, and a whole raft of points which are picked up in certainly Keith's document, Bob's work, and in the Oxfordshire document. Now my colleague Wayne Sayers had picked up where we'd floundered with the Dorset work, picked it up with fresh eyes and DC eyes and said, okay, I can sort this a little bit, started to look at all the data tables and gave, as far as I was concerned, the 4th milestone in her work. He developed a very simple Excel spreadsheet calculator which dragged all of the data into a simple tool that DC officers could use. That was wonderful because on one side the DC officers had something that was simple and they could use, and on the other side, on my side, a massive raft of evidence-based policy that I could take through examination. We are in the final throes of putting that together. We feel, as an authority, that the route to take that work now is through LTP3 public consultation, and the view is that our parking work will be a fundamental part and component of LTP3 because we're driven by draft RSS policy. So that's a view and a quick overview of where we've come from in Dorset and the subject generally. But when we promoted this debate, didn't notice at the time, we said, yes, standards. I raised the question, it's not just standards, but a whole series of other things, and I'm trying to pan out the intent of the debate. I think, ladies and gentlemen, residential parking is about all of that. Now I've got you as a captive audience, you're not going to be able to leave till you've asked some questions, contributed, and partaken in wine and nibbles before you go.